This short video walks through the steps of processing lambs in a pasture lambing system. We try to process or mark all of our lambs within 24 hours of birth, mostly because we can't catch them easily after that. We do keep a complete kit and process every lamb in the same order, and I'll walk through what those steps are. The first step is to record information about the dam or the mother, and I'll go through the things that we record about her. We use an electronic ear tag system, but this can be done with written records as well. We use what's called an easy care lambing system, which helps us select for maternal ability in our flock, which is critical for pasture lambing. We score every ewe on lambing ease, maternal ability, and lamb vigor, and they get a 1, 0, or -1 in each category. We then add those scores together, and a ewe with a total score of less than 2 is called when the lambs are weaned, and her daughters have to have a score of 2 or better to be retained. After we have recorded that data on the ewe, we go through and first we'll apply an ear tag to the lamb. In our system, a ram lamb gets an ear tag in the right ear, a ewe lamb gets an ear tag in the left ear. We use these electronic tags currently and have had good success with them. We also do one lamb entirely first and then the other. So we get all through with the first lamb before we go on and start processing the second lamb. We do take a birth weight on these lambs, which is not critical for your purposes most likely, but because we're doing some research on a variety of factors involving a ewe's maternal abilities, we do take a birth weight on each lamb. We're also recording all of that easy care lambing information on each lamb's record so that when we go back through at weaning time and select our replacements, we can select the ewe lambs that fit our system the best. And we have found over the course of 10 years that it has improved the maternal ability of our flock quite a bit. We use a little handheld scale and a sling that allows us to weigh the animal. Pretty easy setup here. And you can see I've got the second lamb held between my knees, which allows me to use both my hands to work on this first lamb. And they're, even at 24 hours, pretty active. After I record the birth weight on the lamb, I'll do the rest of the processing here. We also will dock and castrate our lambs at this stage. And we use elastrator bands. In our system, because we've got guard dogs out with the sheep, we want to use something that's bloodless, and so these bands work pretty well. When you expand the band, make sure you have the prongs facing towards the lamb's body, and that makes it easy to pull the elastrator off. This position really helps you make sure that you get both testicles when you apply the ring, and you can feel both of them in the scrotum at that point. We dock tails at the caudal fold, which is the little set of skin folds underneath the tail, which you can see there. And that allows for enough of the tail to be left on that we don't damage any nerve endings that could be problematic down the road. You can either dip the umbilical cord in iodine or use a spray bottle like this. I find that a spray bottle is a little less messy in my kit, which is why I prefer it. And then the last step that we do is to apply the ewe's ear tag number on the left side of every lamb. If it's a multiple birth, if it's 2 or more lambs, we use red. And if it's single, we use blue. And this allows us to visually make sure that lambs are mothered up and match lambs with ewes if they get mixed up down the road. So now I'll repeat with the second lamb, what I did with the first. This second lamb is a ewe lamb. Sometimes when you let the first lamb go, the mom will take off with that lamb. If that happens, I will carry the second lamb to her when I'm done processing and make sure that they're mothered up effectively. This ewe's staying really close. She gets actually a 1 in each of the categories of that Easy Care lambing system. So she has a total score of 3. And this little ewe lamb that I'm processing here would also get a score of 3. Now we try to do all of our lambs early on because we don't have a corral system that's easy to set up and bring ewes and lambs into at a later date. A lot of producers that pasture lamb will wait to mark their lambs till they're 3 or 4 weeks old. Because we're moving sheep every 3 or 4 days, typically this time of year, we find that it's easier for us just to go ahead and mark these lambs as we go. And again, by the time they're 24 hours old, if they're getting enough milk and getting enough nutrition, they're going to be next to impossible to catch in the field. And so we find this system is a pretty good way to get everything done relatively quickly and as low stress as we can. We do dock tails for fly strike. These are wool sheep, and so docking tails, I think, is a helpful preventative in our case. And with that, it's a pretty easy system.